Well, yeah, I mean, once you're able to kind of do that self, that and being a leader, like you said, I love that verbiage of leading yourself. Everyone looks at that, they know it. I mean, you can feel it. You can feel it, like you said, in the confidence. You can feel that through the preparation and how it's for your day feels more linear and not so much of these valleys and mountains. Like you're saying, right?
Good morning and welcome to the Coffee with Jason podcast. Today, Jason is chatting with Brandin Wilkinson and Jerrit Lindgren. They'll be chatting about coaching, development, leadership, and culture, and what impact they have on your organization. Grab your closer's coffee and settle in to get all the wonderful details. But first, a word from our sponsor.
For freshly brewed discussion on automotive sales and marketing, this is Coffee with Jason. The Coffee with Jason podcast is sponsored by Closer's Coffee. For that full-bodied, rich, sweet flavor with a bright acidity. Drink Closer's Coffee, stay caffeinated, and keep on closing. Find out more at closerscoffee.ca.
Brandin, Jerrit, I really appreciate you guys, taking the time, to come on and jam with me today. I was looking forward to, finding a little bit about more what you guys do. Like I said, I've been watching you guys and you guys are ramping up and your content, and I love the message you guys are putting out there. And, for everybody out there that don't know, who you are and how you guys kind of got started in this, if we can kind of start there, if you guys can give me kind of that 2-minute origin story of, how this all came about, and then I'd love to deep dive in it after that.
Yeah, I'll let Jerrit kind of take the reins of this one. Jerrit, if you're there, fire away, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, to kind of a 30,000-foot view of me, I started on the auto industry about 8 years ago, and I got a job as a finance manager, and I didn't know anything about the auto industry. I didn't even know what a finance manager was, but I could make good money. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So I did it, and for the first year, it was tough. It was a pretty big challenge. Nobody there had done the position before, and I was just focusing on sales. Like I came from a bank before that, so put 100% of my focus into strategies and techniques and everything. And then after a year, I kind of shifted my focus onto personal development and working with, on myself rather than just my sales skills. And I watched my income double in less than a year, which I was pretty stoked with, right? So I kept on riding that wave, ended up getting a job at another dealership as a sales consultant, and did quite well in sales, got up to assistant sales manager, and then general manager. And once I got into the management position, I was just super excited to bring the personal side of things into the sales process, because it was kind of a new thing. Like it was like new age, kind of, almost a little taboo for guys to be worrying about personal development. And when I actually met Brandin, it was actually on LinkedIn, and I just reached out to him because I liked a lot of the stuff he was posting. I looked into him. I was like, wow, he actually owns a dealership. And we met a couple of times. And I think after the third visit, Brandin was like, he just fired off an email to me about 20 minutes after we met. I was like, here's what I can do for you. Which looked like it was pretty much coaching / consulting. And then, so we worked together for about 8 months. And then during that time, I was just, amazed at how much positive effect it could have just by focusing on the personal development side of things. And it was something that I was bringing to my team, but I didn't find anyone else that kind of had that same frame of mind. And eventually Brandin kind of sat me down. I was like, hey man, this is what 2019 looks like for me. This is kind of potentially what I see you doing. And for me, it was a big decision, because I did love my job. But I just saw this huge gap in the industry that we can fill. And there are, don't get me wrong, there's lots of performance coaches out there, but there's not many that are, specifically coming from the auto industry. So, I saw the market, saw the need, saw the value, and obviously love working with Brandin. So it's been a pretty cool ride so far.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. And for everyone out there, Brandin, that don't know your story, if it kind of gives a little context there,
Sure. Yeah. So I'll keep it short for you and brief, but
because okay. I got all the time in the world. We can do this.
I know. I could talk forever though, and that's not what I want to do. So the short version would be, I stumbled into the automotive industry by accident. At the age of 22, wasn't at all what I was chasing. I don't have a passion for cars. I'm not that type of person. But I have a passion for helping people and serving. And so that's what I brought to the industry, and it served well. Did well in sales, and then did the traditional, top sales performer, moves into sales management, moves into general management. So went through that cycle. And then once I became a general manager, what that did was it created new opportunities for me. And that's when I had the opportunity to buy into and partner in with the Chrysler franchise. So I was 27 years old when I was a general manager. We had a team of 55 people. So it was a big undertaking for me, but learned the hard way how to do things and not do things. So it went through that process. 28 partnered into a Chrysler franchise. And yeah, that was 6 years ago now. So 2 years ago, what's kind of unique is that as a Chrysler franchise dealer and an independent dealer owner, the dealership is in Manitoba and I live in Kelowna, BC. So it's about 1,000 miles away. And the way that works, and I moved out here about 2 years ago with my family. And so the way that we did that was we set it up so that everybody was tied to the bottom line in the dealership. Not only that, but I think what's also made it work is that it's and it's easy to say this, and you have to like go there to appreciate it, but it's a very trusting environment. Mm-hmm. Like you can come to me, you can come to the leaders of the organization with personal issues, professional issues. It doesn't matter. You have the privacy, you have the confidence that you come with us in, and present something in confidentiality, and it'll stay with us. So I think that's really critical to the success as well, as just setting up a trusting environment. So not much else, done really well. I've been recognized by Automotive News as one of the top 40 automotive professionals in North America under the age of 40. Got that recognition a couple years ago. Wrote a book, Rethink Selling. It's out there doing its thing. It's done really well. And now obviously taking part in Rethink You with Jerrits, and excited to fill the void. Jerrit and I were talking the other day, I guess last week, with one of the top automotive sales trainers in Canada. He reached out to us, was curious about what we're doing, because we had an article in the Canadian Auto World that grabbed his attention. And he recognized the need for it as well. He's like, man, just wanting to let you guys know that you're on the right track. There's a massive need. We have like an abundance of sales trainers, it seems. Like if I was to ask you to name, 3 sales trainers in the automotive industry, you could probably list 3 off pretty quick.
Of course.
But if I was to ask you if you could name 3 performance coaches for the leaders of our industry, you'd be like, who? Like there really isn't somebody that comes to mind right away. And so we recognize that as something that should be corrected. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we know that everything trickles from the top down, mm-hmm. but we're not really investing enough in the top level to have that profound effect on the salespeople. So, and a lot of the sales training honestly focuses, and I talk about this in my book, a lot of the sales training focuses on the strategies and not so much the mindset.
For sure.
And in the book, the first thing that I say, and the reason why you only know 20% of sales, is because success is 80% psychological, so mental, and only 20% of it is based on your skill set. And so, but it seems as though we're focused more on the skill set. It's like we have it backwards. It's like we're focusing 80% of our attention on the skill set and only 20% on the mindset and personal development and things of that nature. So we want to be able to bring to the table an opportunity for the leaders of the automotive industry, give them an opportunity to grow and develop themselves, and to start incorporating this mindset and culture into their dealerships so that it can transpire onto the salespeople, and just it'll have this trickle effect amongst the entire organization. So, yeah.
And I have to admit, that's complete music to my ears, because I've been in so many meetings with so many dealerships, and I deal on the marketing side. And so many times do people look at me and think that marketing is the answer for them to sell more cars. But in reality, we need to actually look inwards. You'd be amazed how many meetings I have where I'm actually telling them not to spend more money with me. And I'm just saying, you know what? You know how much easier it would be to just work with your team, develop them out, train them, coach them, all right, and increase your closing ratio 5% more, all right? Instead of spending $5,000 more on a campaign to generate another 30 bodies in here, where you're only going to close 25% of them. All right. Spend that $5,000 invested into this on a monthly basis, bring your closing ratio up at 5%. You're actually going to sell more than what you thought you were going to do in the first place. And you're going to end up generating a better team. And, the after effects of all of that goes around. So I'm curious. I break this down into 4 different categories. So I'm kind of curious on which area you're going to sit. Is, we train on the effort. all right, the effort to sell, or the effort to communicate, right? Then we develop, right? We develop out those efforts to be better, throughout the dealership. Then we coach. And the coach is more of that one-on-one coaching the individual and how that they take a personal approach to the efforts and how they can be better with those efforts. And then the fourth level, unfortunately, I'm a big fan of, but it doesn't get talked enough about at all, is actually developing out a team. Really creating a team and doing team efforts and team building. I can't tell you how many meetings I've sat in where I got the parts manager on one side, the service manager on the other side, the new car used manager. They're all sitting there. If I wasn't there, they'd be in a physical fist fight with each other because they literally hate each other. It's like,
and they have lack of direction too, I think. As well.
Completely. And because of that, the whole dealership's culture and everything suffers from it, and so on and so forth. So out of those kind of four spaces, where are you guys kind of focusing? Where direction are you guys taking?
Yeah. Coaching, 100%. So that's kind of why our ideal candidates are in the management positions. So whether it's sales manager, finance manager, general manager, even dealer principals. So we're kind of going into this approach, assuming that they've already got the skill set. But what we're finding though is like they can be highly, highly skilled, but they're not getting the personal touch to kind of pick them up. That's going to keep them going throughout the day. And when you talk about, being a team, when you have someone like a leader at the top who is bringing unity to everyone, is bringing that positive vibe, and like everyone's excited to see them and hear what they have to say. The team all kind of melds together, and your customers, when they walk in, they can feel it. There isn't that division between, well, that's obviously used and that's new over there, and then that's the parts. And like everyone starts working together, and it's just like it creates a really, really positive culture. And in return, like it creates high employee retention. When I was working at Nissan dealership, our turnover rate was 21%, which is about half of the industry average around here. I spent less time. Yeah.
But I mean, I agree with you. I think for the most part, dealerships will get to the point where they will train on the efforts and maybe develop out some of those efforts so that the performance is better. But then that third and fourth level, that coaching and team development just really kind of dies off. So let's deep dive then into what's coaching, because I hate to say it, but it is a little bit of a buzzword. It's getting tossed around a lot, and everybody's got a kind of a different methodology, when it comes to coaching. So, I'll hear from both you guys. Sure. How do you define coaching?
Coaching for me, and it often is confused with consulting. The big difference is a consultant is going to tell you exactly what to do. It's not going to be your idea. They're just going to say, this is how I did it and this is how you can do it. And you have to do it step by step by step by step. So a consultant, and they often do have good results. It's been a proven method, and they'll tell you exactly what to do. The difference in a coach is we have a true belief that everyone already has the answers for them inside them. And you can relate that back to anything. If let's say you're in sales and you're sitting at your desk and you should be making follow-up phone calls, but you're not. But you should. That's where a coach is going to come in and start asking you strategic questions and be like, well, what was it you were doing this morning? So that's for me, the biggest difference between a coach and a consultant is a coach is there to kind of cheer you on and pick you up and hold you accountable. And it's really just by bringing out the best in you and not telling you what to do. Because there's a big difference when someone tells you what to do and then you go and do it versus it being your own idea and you take ownership of it and you go forward from there, right?
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was going to say, if you're a parent, you can relate. It's like, or a coach of a sporting team or something, you can, tell your kids to do something till you're blue in the face, or your team members to do something till you're blue in the face. And you're trying to figure out, like, why hasn't this sunk in yet? I told them the answer. It's the right answer. It's what they're supposed to do. And it's because it wasn't their idea, ultimately. It's like, we know that advice typically isn't sustainable. But once you turn that advice into their own idea, then all of a sudden it's within them, and they want to expose that, and it is more sustainable. It becomes their idea. So then they support it even more. And then your productivity goes up, your morale goes up. All of that are byproducts just by making it their own idea. And the way you do that is really through effective questioning. And to your point earlier, I mean, look, honestly, you're bang on. It's like coach is a buzzword. Jerrit and I face the same thing, and you would have recognized this when you had a Mitsubishi store, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So like as salespeople, it's the same thing. We had a negative stigma with being a car salesperson. Oh, you're a used car guy. And it's like, well, no, there's more to it than that. And same with coaching, right? It's all about what you invest in yourself first. So in turn, you can better help, support others and serve others. And so what we did is we went through a company called Performance Coach University. If you're familiar at all with Tony Robbins, it's his kid, Jerrit, that put together the program, and it's accredited by the International Coaching Federation, which is the gold standard of coaching. So we paid a bunch of money, got certified, went through the whole course, did the exam, we did all that. So we're not just coaches, right? Like we actually have some credibility behind what we're doing. And I think inevitably, although Jerrit's bang on, like there are drastic differences between coaching and consulting.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes our position really unique as coaches is that as a current dealer myself, and as Jerrit just recently removed from successfully being a general manager at a Nissan dealership, we're current and we're relatable. And we understand on a deeper level what the leaders of these organizations in the automotive industry are going through. And so inevitably, there's going to be some consulting tied into that coaching, although it'll be a small part of it. But that's, I think, a massive bonus to these organizations and to these dealers is that we have that experience that we can share with them.
Well, you guys are actually practitioners in what you're doing. And I think that's really key, right? That's always been the key to my success is that, every time we come up with a marketing strategy, that marketing strategy comes from a very rich history and experience in operations and how it's actually going to affect or positively affect, their day-to-day operations. It's the same thing for you guys. You guys are not just, you're not just talking about something you guys don't actually do. You've done it. Now you're prepared to actually go and talk about it. It took me, it was 10 years before I actually called myself a marketing expert. I literally, I didn't manage people in their marketing efforts. I physically did it. I did everything from the creation to the execution. I mean, my day was spent easily 3 to 4 hours of my day was spent in AdWords and Google Analytics. I mean, physically in there doing the whole thing. And I did this for years before I could even call myself, an actual expert because I did it. I was a practitioner. I was physically. And still today, it's funny, my team actually gives me a hard time because, I'll walk into our ad team's room where they're working and I'll sit down at a computer and they're like, no, Jason, go away. It's just like, you're going to, I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm looking at that. If we move this to here, we add another layer of remarketing here, then this is going to oh God, no, here he goes again. They give me hard times. It's the amount of times that we've readjusted our strategy and added so many additional parts to our strategy, yet we don't charge more for my operations manager looking at me right now. He's giving me a hard time. He's giving me a hard time. But it's just, that's what you do when you're a practitioner. It just is what it is, right? It's in us. It's just in our blood to do so. Here, when I think of coach, here's what I think of coach, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I see someone that comes in and, coach and strategy for me kind of goes hand in hand. You'd be amazed how many times I sit at a dealership to do a marketing strategy and end up spending more time talking about operations than I do talk about actual marketing, right? Yeah. And it's because, but there's an actual plan in place. I mean, I grew up, I had a coach. I was heavy into track and field, and I did it all for many, many years, all through middle school, up through high school, competitively, and I love doing it. But my coach would consistently come to me with a program. There was a place, something that I was going to, but built for me as an individual, not something that was going to be for everybody, right? Yeah. Every person on that team was slightly different. I was a smaller guy. I was a smaller guy. I didn't have the height that it wasn't going to have the weight of the other throwers that I was throwing against. I did shot put, disc, and javelin, right? But for me to compete with them, I had to outspin them. When you think of the discus and shot put, you spin in a ring to throw. It's all about centrifugal force. So I had to outspin them because I was never going to outpower them, right? So my coach came up with a plan for me, and oh my gosh, I practice dry spins 300-400 times a day.
Yeah.
Just again and again and again and again and again, because because that was going to be my space.
Yeah.
Is that kind of your guys' approach? You really kind of come in with this catered strategy?
I think, just to chime in there just briefly for a second, I'll let Jerrit take over. But I was just having this conversation with my nutritionist today. I have a nutrition coach and a fitness coach. And so I had a fitness and nutrition coach last year as well. This is a different one now. But I remember when I first got signed up with them, and they're like, okay, we're going to have you track your intake on this app called MyFitnessPal. I was like, okay, I didn't really know anything about it or whatever. And I was like, no problem. And oh man, is it a lot of work. It is like tedious stuff. It's just not enjoyable. You got to create your own recipes, input all the nutrients and everything. And it's just like, oh man. But I tell you what, I really liked my nutrition coach, like personally, I didn't want to let them down. And so there's that accountability without even forcing it. It's just, when you have somebody else there that you don't want to let down, you level up. You bring your team to another level. And then what happens is, what you're doing is you're starting to develop these innate habits. They're starting to take over. And so you do that. I do this fitness tracking. I started doing it last year, and I'm continuing to do it with my new nutrition coach as well. It's just something that was such a pain in the beginning. Honestly, I didn't want to do it. But then once I got into a rhythm of doing it and it became habitual, it was like I didn't not want to do it. It's weird. So that's to touch on kind of what you were saying, Jason. Same idea, different, but same idea. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
But it's funny though, because you say that, because I have a buddy of mine that's a personal trainer, and I'm just like, you actually got to stop calling yourself a personal trainer. It's the wrong word. It's more like you're a personal coach.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between training and coaching. And you guys tell me, and I'm curious, to hear your guys' thoughts on this, is training is just training on the efforts. It's like, here's how you do, a press, a chest press, right? Here's how you do a pull-up, but that's just the effort. That's not coaching, right? To combine both efforts and performance together, like what your nutrition coach does, right? It's a coach. That's what it does.
What training is the execution. You get your coaching first, and then you move into the training. You do need both. They work hand in hand. Just to kind of summarize what both of you kind of identified, in my opinion, kind of where a coach is you need to first identify what the problem is. You just strategize to develop a plan. And then we're gonna create a tracking system for you to see how well you're doing. So the next time we talk, I can hold you accountable and be like, hey man, you said you're gonna work on waking up 15 minutes earlier over the last week. How did you do with that? And they're like, well, I was up late one night, and it's like, well, man. And so that's really what a coach does, is they'll call you out on your, on any of the stuff you're slacking off, right?
Accountability. I actually think that is probably a very big defining word that we can use for a coach, because that's not, trainers you train on the effort. That's it. Yeah. There's not always accountability, tied into training. It's just like, here's the ABCs on how to sell a car.
Yeah.
Right. Now let's
just hand it.
Yeah, you go. Here's your step one, step, which needs to be done. Don't get me wrong. It does. Right. I mean, you got to start somewhere. Right. But then coaching is now the development of those efforts, and then holding someone accountable for the development of those efforts. Yeah. So I think that's cool. So let's get more into practical. Let's get a few tips out there and advice to some of the people. So we're thinking right now, the people that be listening to this podcast, right? So we have owners that are listening. We have we have owners, dealer principals. We have managers. We have salespeople. Actually, got a lot of vendors that listen to this too. Let's say if we were to give 3 points of advice when it comes to coaching your team, because coaching, the idea of coaching your team, an idea is only as good as how well we can execute it. So at the end of the day, if the dealership or the dealership's owner or general manager can coach their team, great. If they can't coach their management team or their sales team, then they need to hire someone to do so. That's just bottom line, right? That's where we're going with this. So what would be the 3 biggest things, or 3 pieces of advice you would give to an owner or a sales manager on coaching?
So in order to help others and serve others with 100% effectiveness, it needs to start with you. And it's reverse. It's not you need to focus on strategies and read this book. It's actually, how do you start your morning? Like, as soon as you wake up, what does your morning look like? Because that's actually when your day starts for work, is before you get to work, right? So developing a healthy morning routine and what you're thinking about, what state of mind are you going to walk into work in? So I think developing a morning routine is like one of the very first things to lead an effective team. And then activating a peak state. So when we say peak state, that's when you can look back on a memory where you just felt on top of the world, like you were stoked, you were happy, you were so proud of yourself and like confident, and to be able to, bring that state of mind, just by snapping your fingers is huge, because you don't want to walk in, like if you're having a bad time at home, you don't want to walk up to your team, your shoulders are slumped over and you're talking kind of quiet, like, hey guys, no, you gotta be like, you gotta get in there and like you're the captain, get them cheered up, right? And then having having a strong sense of gratitude towards your team, I think is huge. When I was often with our sales teams and meetings, and with the service staff as well, I'd make it quite clear to them that I know that they could go work anywhere they want right now. There is no shortage of work out there. And I understand that you are choosing to work here, for reasons. And it's not you working for me. I'm really here to work for you guys. And when you can shift that mentality and make sure your staff understand that you're there for them, not the other way around, it's like they love going to work. They get to go to work. They don't have to go to work.
Yeah. I totally agree with what Jerrit's saying. We're aligned in that message. And I think to drive that point home a little further, or to summarize, essentially it's maybe there are 3 things, there could be 5 things, but I think the one biggest thing would just be like, if you can effectively lead yourself, then you're going to be able to effectively lead others. Right. And so I think it's easy to say, but it's so hard to do, and to do consistently, and have the discipline and the drive to want to do it as well, which is why we talk about activating your big why and having a reason for what you do day in and day out. And so it circles back a little bit to what Richard Branson talks about. And he's like, your clients don't come first. Your people come first. And if you take care of the people, they will take care of your clients. And we know this, it's from a billionaire entrepreneur, but we almost bypass it. It's almost just like words. But if you really hear what he's saying, it's in essence, lead yourself first so you can effectively lead your team, who will effectively take care of your clients. And so if you want to coach your team effectively, learn how to coach yourself first, and then that will transpire onto your team.
And it sounds like, Jerrit, what you were saying there to kind of get that started, Brandin, is preparation. You got to get in the morning. You got to be prepared. This isn't going to just happen on its own. Like, you got to get mentally and physically prepared. So, I get up at 5 a.m. I get my 2 hours of just kind of getting the motor going and, getting myself going before the kids wake up, and I can do everything else. It's getting yourself prepared. And then routine, right? Routine. Like, you gotta, if you're not intentional with your time and really create that daily routine, you're gonna lose out, right? And then I love the last one, to really kind of practice gratitude. And it sounds like if you can kind of nail these 3 things, preparation, routine, and gratitude, then you're able to kind of, like you said, to your point, Brandin, is you get to be a leader of yourself. Now you're in a place where you can actually go and lead others.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. So in the book, and this isn't a pitch, it's just to touch on what you said about preparation, Jason, and it goes back to like developing momentum. And so in the book, I talk about the 3 p.m. rule, which is preparation plus proactive plus persistence equals momentum. So when you're prepared, the more prepared you are, the more confident you are, or the more confident you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing, right? We talked about baseball and using that as a reference earlier. The more times you're in the batting cage, that's what you're doing, is you're preparing for the game. So you're going to have more confidence when you go to the plate, kind of thing. But you have to also be proactive, and in doing that and staying consistent and disciplined with it as well. And so being proactive is really progression, and progression is living. If you're growing every day, if you're developing every day, then you're living every day to its fullest, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing is persistence. It's like you have to be resilient because you're going to run in some tough freaking times, man. Like it's going to be hard, right? It's like we see this picture all the time, especially in the life of an entrepreneur or business leader. It's like your emotional roller coaster, right? It's just like this day in and day out. It's peaks and valleys. And so the ability to maintain a peak state when you're in the valley is critical. And that comes from persistence and resilience. And then once you're able to do that, you develop a momentum. And for me, when I'm surrounded by people, I know when people are have momentum developed, and I want to ride that wave with them as much as possible. And so that's what you're doing as a leader, is you're developing this momentum that other people just are automatically attracted to. How do I get on that wave? What did you do? What have you done, and how can you lead me to this?
Well, yeah. I mean, once you're able to kind of do that and being a leader, like you said, I love that verbiage of leading yourself. Everyone looks at that. They know it. I mean, you can feel it. You can feel it, like you said, in the confidence. Mm-hmm. You can feel that through the preparation and how, it's for your day feels more linear and not so much of these valleys and mountains, like you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Guys, I think this is great. I really appreciate you guys coming on today and jamming with me. I think there's some serious value here, for the listeners out there. And I hope, people are actually taking notes. If you were driving, don't take notes. Listen to it later. But at the end of the day, when it comes to coaching, either you're going to make the commitment and be the leader yourself,
mm-hmm.
all right? Or you're going to have to look outwards and you're going to have to hire someone to do so. Don't be the jack of all trades and masters of nothing, right? Make the decision. If this is what you're going to be, then do it. If not, then you need to get a hold of a real proper coach. And what you guys are doing and your methodology, I'm super excited to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' company progress. And if for people out there that are listening to this and would love to connect and find out a little bit more about what you guys are doing, what is the best way to connect with you guys?
Well, you can jump onto our website. It's rethinku, so that's the capital U, not YOU, .ca. We've got contact tabs on there, and then you can reach out to us both on LinkedIn. We have Instagram and a YouTube channel as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks again, guys, so much. I really appreciate you jamming with me today.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Love what you're doing, man. Keep it up, buddy.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
We covered a bunch of great topics today. What stood out most to you? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below. And don't forget to like the post and share it to keep the conversation going. You can follow Jason on all social media platforms by following Strategy with Jason. You can find him pretty well everywhere you can share content. I hope we were able to get you thinking. And until the next time, this has been Nathan with Digital Dealership Solutions. Have a great day.